Welcome back, friends. It's Anders. Today, we are gonna be making 10 Grenadine cocktails. Now, this is not just some sort of arbitrary list that I'm throwing out there. All of these drinks really rely on a good quality Grenadine. Now, if you've been watching this channel from the beginning, or not even, if you've been watching this channel for a little while, you probably know that I am a stickler when it comes to Grenadine. I always say, if you can, make your own. I've always left my Grenadine recipe down below in the description because to me, it's that important. So far, there has not been a store-bought option that reflects what I want in Grenadine, which is a nice, bright, tart pomegranate flavor and good texture. It seems like a simple ask, but I have not seen it yet. Until today, ladies and gentlemen, I am excited to tell you that I have now launched my own Grenadine recipe, and it is now available to you. If you have been making the homemade stuff all this time, especially if you've been using my recipe, I applaud you. I think that is wonderful, and I'm not telling you to stop making that because I know it's that good. But now you don't have to. It's a game changer. I'm just excited. This is something I've wanted to do for a long time. Ever since the first time I said, you should really use homemade Grenadine because there's nothing like it. In the back of my head, was like, if I can figure out a way to put my homemade Grenadine in a bottle, I'm gonna do it. And I did it. I've made this in partnership with the lovely folks at Portland Syrups who care about the things that I care about. It's a small operation. They have their hands on every step of the process. We had multiple samples and I learned things about bricks and pH and things I never thought about with syrups before. These folks take their syrups very seriously, and I greatly appreciate it because I know that my homemade recipe is in good hands. It says right here, crafted in partnership with world-renowned bartender and YouTuber Anders Ericsson. Thank you. I did not write that, but they were very kind. And they did put my logo right next to it. Of course, the link is down below. So, is this video one giant promotion for my Grenadine? Yes, it is. But there are 10 quality recipes that you are gonna get. We're gonna have some fun. We are going to drink a number of drinks that all kind of look the same, this pinkish, reddish color. Hit that subscribe button for more sips, tips, and recipes, and let's go make 10 Grenadine cocktails. To the bar. All right, so number 1. The Shrunken Skull. This is often the first cocktail that comes to mind when I think about Grenadine because it calls for a whole ounce, and with a subpar Grenadine, the cocktail is just awful. So let's make it. I'm going to make this kind of a quick and dirty way. In a shaking tin, let's start with 1 ounce of that wonderful pomegranate Grenadine. To that, add 1 ounce of Gold Rum, 1 ounce of Demerara Rum, and 1 ounce of fresh lime juice. That's it. Add a little bit of crushed ice. Give that a shake really quick just to incorporate some air, get a little bit of dilution, but we don't want to shake it too much. Of course, if you have a milkshake blender, that's really the best way to mix this up. But like I said, this is a really quick, easy way to do it. Then in a chilled lowball glass or tiki glass, whatever you want, add a little bit of extra crushed ice, and then open pour the cocktail into the glass. Top it off with more crushed ice if you'd like. You can really garnish this however you want. It is actually a true tiki drink. So I like to throw in some pineapple fronds, even though there's no pineapple in it. I think it looks nice. And then a nice little cocktail umbrella and a straw. There it is, the Shrunken Skull. Cheers. Well, that looks refreshing, does it not? It's a great drink. It really is. It's actually, my understanding is it's a kind of simplified variation of another tiki drink called the Skull and Bones. It's bright, tart. I love mixing rums. You get a richness from that Demerara rum, and then the Gold Rum is just kind of mild there. It's not too in your face. 2 thumbs up. Shrunken Skull. We got a lot to do. So on to number 2, the Pan American Clipper. The Pan American Clipper dates back to the 1930s, and there is some history to go with it, but we will cover that another time. This drink is very, very similar to another Grenadine cocktail called the Jack Rose. We did that one on the channel a long time ago, and this one is like that, but with an absinthe rinse, and it's good. So in a shaking tin, start with 1.5 ounces of apple brandy. Now you could use Applejack, Calvados, any apple brandy is gonna be good. To that, add 3/4 ounce of fresh lemon juice, 1/2 ounce of grenadine, add ice and shake, then rinse a chilled cocktail glass with absinthe. I like a little atomizer bottle, a little spray bottle, but if you wanted, you could just add in a little bit, swish it around and dump it out. And then double strain the cocktail into the glass, express lemon oil across the top. You could use this as a garnish, but if you have a fancy little glass, then maybe you don't need a garnish at all, which I don't think I do, so I'm gonna leave that off. And there we have the Pan American Clipper. Cheers. I did this one in our Reels on Instagram some time ago. If you don't follow us on Instagram, go check it out. That's really nice. Like I said, it's a Jack Rose with absinthe. However, my Jack Rose, I actually add a little bit more grenadine. I like that one a little bit sweeter, but because of the absinthe, I like to tone down the sweet level. It's not a dry cocktail, it still is like kind of a sweet sour thing going on, but the absinthe really comes out. It's great for fall, even though right now it's June. It's really good now too. I'm not complaining. Number 3, here we go. Sorry, I don't have these memorized. Number 3. The Pink Lady. Pink Lady, oh yes. I wrote early 190s. I think I meant early 1900s. All right, the Pink Lady. This one dates back to the early 1900s. This is a gin-based cocktail. It does have apple brandy as well. If you're making these cocktails, all 10 of these with me, bravo. But we're gonna wanna hang on to that apple brandy because we're gonna use it in this cocktail. To make the Pink Lady in a shaking tin, start with 1 small egg white. Is that what you say, 1 small egg white? The egg white of a small egg. Start with 1 small egg white, or if you'd like to go egg-free, you could add 3/4 ounce of aquafaba. Now we can add 1.5 ounces of gin, 1/2 ounce of apple brandy, 3/4 ounce of lemon, and 1/2 ounce of grenadine. Give that a dry shake, meaning no ice at all. That's going to help emulsify the egg white, add some air, really get it fluffy. Do that for about 10 to 15 seconds, and then add ice and give it a wet shake for another 10 to 15 seconds. Double strain into a chilled cocktail glass. Express lemon oil across the top. In fact, I like a good amount of lemon oil here because sometimes those egg cocktails can kind of smell eggy, and I'd rather smell lemon. Hit the sides and then garnish with a single cherry. 1 lonely cherry. And there we have the Pink Lady. Cheers. Light, fluffy, lip smacking. It's very light. The apple brandy gives it a little bit of depth, which I think takes this to a whole nother level. The gin, I like to use a dry gin. I use Plymouth here, but sometimes I like to use a London dry. It's rather forgiving, so any gin will work. And of course, the grenadine. So important. So important. All right, on to number 4, the Queen's Park Hotel Super Cocktail. I have talked about this one before. It's been featured in another list video at some point on this channel. It had its own video. It's got a ridiculous name and I absolutely love it. And it really is important to use good grenadine, so I had to put it on the list. What is interesting about this drink is it has sweet vermouth in it, and it's also a sour style cocktail, so it's kind of like this mashup of all different kinds of drinks. Anyway, if you want to go watch the video on it, we did that a long time ago. That's doing a deep dive in older stuff, but now let's make the damn thing. In a shaking tin, we're gonna start with 1.5 ounces of gold rum. I am using Angostura, which is from Trinidad and Tobago, which is where the Queen's Park Hotel was. It just seems appropriate and it works really well in the drink. 1/2 ounce of sweet vermouth, 1/2 ounce of fresh lime juice, 1/2 ounce of grenadine, and 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. If you're using a small little dasher bottle like I am, then double up, 4 dashes. Add ice and shake, double strain into a chilled coupe, and then garnish it with a lime twist. And there it is, don't overthink it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Queen's Park Hotel Super Cocktail. I think you kind of get an idea of what these drinks are gonna all look like. That's why I had to use separate glassware for all of them, so I knew what I was drinking. There we are. Oh, look at this cute little bear. Love it. Cheers. Yep. That drink, I don't drink it that often, you know. I got a lot of other cocktails on my mind. But when I take a sip of that, I am immediately taken back to the first time I sipped it. And it's not like it was a great memory. I just happened to be looking through old cocktail books. Well, actually, this was a newer cocktail book. It was a Beach Bum Berry, Potions of the Caribbean, whatever. Anyway, I decided to make it and I took a sip and it really hit me. I'm like, how is this a thing? It's like a daiquiri, but it has this richness from the sweet vermouth. You got the brightness from the lime juice, and the grenadine falls right in the middle. And it really binds it together to make an amazing cocktail. I wouldn't even try this with many other grenadines on the market because I don't want to ruin this drink for me. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it. On to number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means we're already halfway. Wow, okay. All right, number 5, the Ward 8. This is an interesting one. This is a fun drink that calls for orange juice, one of my all-time favorite things to mix with. That's a joke. Orange juice is not one of my favorite things to mix with, but in the right application, it works really well. And in the Ward 8. So this is a riff on the whiskey sour, essentially. So it's whiskey based, it's gonna be shaken. So start off in a shaking tin with 2 ounces of rye whiskey. To that add half an ounce of fresh lemon juice, half an ounce of fresh orange juice, and half an ounce of grenadine. That's it. Add ice and shake, about 15 seconds or so. Double strain into a cocktail glass. I'm doing this in a fancy glass because I had one chilled. And then garnish with an orange wedge and a cherry. Sometimes this is called a flag. And there we have the Ward 8. Cheers. We're gonna be getting like an actual fridge and a full-size freezer here on the channel soon. I am so stoked. We've been living like a college dorm for far too long. But you don't need to know that. You don't need to know that. Cheers! Woo! Woo! That rye, the spicy rye is really nice. The orange juice, it's very subtle. It just lends to the fruitiness of the grenadine. Of course, you have the brightness from the lemon juice. And then, yeah, that spicy rye, which is really important. You could try this with bourbon if you'd like, but personally, I like the rye. Dates back to the turn of the 20th century. So, yeah, Boston, a mob boss. This is another video we did a while back. I'm gonna say you probably don't need to go watch that one because, I don't know, that was a long time ago. I can't guarantee that it was that great. But if you wanna, check it out. Downhill from here, folks. On to number 6, the Scofflaw. This is one that some of you probably saw coming. It's an odd cocktail, truthfully. It's like a whiskey sour, much like the Ward 8, but it uses a dry vermouth and the sour aspect is toned down a little bit. It's a really interesting cocktail. Also very old. It refers to those during Prohibition that scoffed the law and would drink anyway. Now a scofflaw is somebody who doesn't pay their parking ticket. So if you are a scofflaw, give this one a shot. We are also gonna shake this one up because it is a sour style cocktail. So in a shaking tin, start with 1.5 ounces of rye whiskey. To that, add 1 ounce of dry vermouth. I do also like this one with Blanc vermouth. So if you've got a bottle of Blanc vermouth open, you can use that. Half an ounce of fresh lemon juice and 1/4 ounce of grenadine and 2 dashes of orange bitters. Add ice and shake. Double strain into a cocktail glass, express orange oil across the top, and garnish it if you so choose. I am doing a loop-de-doop with little clothespins that don't quite fit the width of my glass. These are little things that I will obsess about. I am sorry I didn't have this ready for you, but I think it looks good. The Scofflaw. Cheers. You know what this reminds me of? This little like loop-de-doop thing on top. You know the top of like marching band?
Plume.
Plume, thank you. It's a plume. Garnish it with an orange plume. Such a weird drink, but it's good. I do like it. It's lighter. You know, that dry vermouth kind of thins it out a little bit. There isn't a ton of citrus, so you don't need a whole lot of the grenadine, but it is still important to kind of balance things out. Light, easy to drink. It's unexpected. There's a whole lot of different flavors going on with that one. And I like it quite a bit. Actually, I haven't had that one in a while, and I'm glad that I did now. So far, I've liked all of these very much. And we've already done 6, so we're in the home stretch. I think it's time we take a little break and talk about today's sponsor, my Grenadine. Let's pour ourselves a little bit so you can see what it looks like on its own. This is not gonna be an unnaturally bright red like some other store-bought options, but it does have a nice deep red color. It's got a thick texture, as you can see. There you are, coats the side of the glass. And I'm not gonna drink all of this because that is too much sugar for me right now, but I will take a little sip. Take a sip, you're gonna need a moment before you talk. It tastes like bright pomegranate and you taste roses at the end. That's because we use rose petals to give it a floral roundness, which really brings it all together. Now, if you were to drink it straight, just like this, you're gonna think that's pretty heavy. And that's because it is. That is intentional. A good grenadine has a job to do. It needs to have a strong flavor that can hold up to strong spirits, to acidic juices, to the dilution of fizzy water, to ice, to crushed ice. It needs to hold its own, but it also should add some body, some texture, some weight to the drink, but not an over-complicated perfumey flavor that takes over your cocktail. There's a chance to give you something to think about if you're considering getting yourself a bottle of this fine product. It also bought me a little time so that now I can move on and continue drinking cocktails. Drink responsibly. On to number 7, the Mexican Firing Squad. All right, so we are gonna step aside from the whiskey-based grenadine cocktails, and we are gonna do a very simple build, which is known as the Mexican Firing Squad. It's tequila based. You can, if you want, use mezcal, but traditionally it would be tequila. This is actually an older cocktail. It dates back to the 1930s, which is rare. There weren't many tequila cocktails back then. This is one of them. Let's make it. In a shaking tin, start with 1.5 ounces of reposado tequila. If you want to taste the agave more, go with a blanco tequila, but today I'm using a reposado. Add 3/4 ounce of lime juice, 3/4 ounce of grenadine, and then Angostura bitters. I like to go heavy on this, so I do 3 to 4 dashes from the larger bottle. From this small dasher bottle, I will do 6 to 8 dashes of Angostura bitters. Add ice and shake, then add ice to a lowball glass, or in my case, a jumbo lump of ice. Drop that right in and double strain the cocktail over the ice. For a garnish, I like a simple lime wheel. There we have the Mexican Firing Squad. Cheers. So simple and so good. Refreshing. It's common to lengthen this one out. If you want, you could add soda water, make it a little fizzy, and then it's a little bit more of a sessionable drink. But I do like it with the original specs, which is this. Number 8, the 12-mile limit. This drink is an interesting one. It's actually named after the nautical border. During Prohibition in the United States, there was a 12-mile limit that if you were beyond that, you could drink 12 miles out into the ocean. And people would actually do that. They would go out 12 miles and drink whatever it is they had. And it calls for 3 different boozes. But it works really well, as long as you have a good grenadine. So to make it, in a shaking tin, start with 1 ounce of light rum. To that, add 1/2 ounce of rye, 1/2 ounce of cognac, 1/2 ounce of fresh lemon juice, and 1/2 ounce of grenadine. Give that a shake with ice, double strain into a cocktail glass, express lemon oil across the top. If you want, you could garnish it with the lemon peel. And there we have the 12-mile limit. Cheers. I'm not going ham on these cocktails for a reason. They do kind of all look the same though, don't they? I don't know that it's gonna make for an exciting photo, but the drinks are very good. So here we are, the 12-mile limit. Cheers. That's really good. It's kind of confusing. Like all those base spirits, they work really well together. And I've actually made this without the rye and instead used gin. And that was by mistake, but it worked really well. So I kind of feel like this drink is borderline tiki in that it uses a number of base spirits that complement each other. It's very straightforward though. It's still just a sour style cocktail with kind of like an identity crisis. It doesn't know what it wants as its base. Ha! So, okay, where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 2 more to go. Hang in there. Anders, number 9, the Black Rose. So far, all of these have been old classic cocktails. The Black Rose is an exception. I believe it was created about 20 years ago. However, there are a number of cocktails that go by the name the Black Rose. And this one, I couldn't find any literature as to who invented it or exactly where it came from. I'm thinking maybe New York, I don't know. The reason why I liked it though is because it is a spirit-forward cocktail, so we're gonna stir this drink. Probably shouldn't have done it toward the end of the list, but oh well, lesson learned. This one is kind of a riff on a Sazerac, and an interesting one at that. So in a mixing glass, start with 1/4 ounce of Grenadine, 1 ounce of bourbon, and 1 ounce of cognac, 3 dashes of Peychaud's, again, double up if you're using small dasher bottles, and 1 dash of Angostura bitters, or 2, again. Add ice and stir, about 30 seconds or so, depending on your ice. Strain off into a lowball glass. I'm using a small Gibraltar glass, which is how I like to serve my Sazeracs as well. Express lemon oil across the top, and there we have the Black Rose. Cheers. The Black Rose. Cheers. It's actually really good. Because of the Peychaud's bitters, it has the feel of a Sazerac. Now it doesn't have the absinthe rinse, that's the main thing, and you do have a fruitiness from the Grenadine, which also is complemented by the cognac, but it does drink like a Sazerac. So whoever made this drink, if you're watching this, great job. It's kind of the odd one out. It's a newer cocktail. I'm the least familiar with this one, and I like it. I just don't know who made it. So if you do know, let us know in the comments down below. Don't call me or anything. Yeah, it's tasty. Eyes on the prize. We got one left. One of my all-time favorite cocktails, period. And I'm really picky about this one. It is the El Presidente. It's not really a Grenadine cocktail because we use a very small amount, but it is important that the Grenadine that you're using is good. In fact, I'm specific about the specific bottles I use in this cocktail. To make the El Presidente, in a mixing glass, start with 1.5 ounces of a light rum. And when I say light rum, it's such a broad category of rum. I like Probitas, also known as Veritas outside of the United States. It's actually fuller in flavor. It's not really a light rum, so I don't really know what to call it, but in this cocktail, it is great. To that, add 3/4 ounce of Blanc vermouth. I like the Dolan Vermouth de Chambry Blanc. I know I'm sounding nitpicky here, but to me, that was the best one. I believe David Wondrich actually says that that's the vermouth that you should use in this drink. I said I believe, I could be wrong. To that, add 1/4 ounce of Curacao. I like the Pierre Ferrand dry Curacao. And then 1 bar spoon of Grenadine. It's not a lot, but it's exactly what we need in this drink. Add ice and stir, strain that off into a chilled cocktail glass, express orange oil across the top, and I'm gonna garnish with the same peel. There we have El Presidente. Cheers. There it is. Is that not a beautiful cocktail? I will say this, as I try to sit on my stool, hold on. This, to me, is the prettiest of the lineup. Maybe I saved the best for last. Cheers. That's great. This is considered Cuba's answer to the Manhattan. And it's really interesting because it is kind of like a Manhattan, but reversed. The drier vermouth, you've got the rum, there's a sweetness there. All right, it's got a long finish. I love the rum that I've used in this one. Now this will work with other rums, but personally, I think that the Probitas / Veritas works really well in this cocktail. In fact, that's one of the primary reasons why I have that rum, is for this cocktail. That's good. That is good. All of you did a great job today. Now, you might think this is the end of the video. Wait, don't leave, because I've got one more, a bonus, a non-alcoholic option, because Grenadine has 0 alcohol in it. In fact, on the side of the bottle, I put on there, it says pomegranate limeade. It's kind of a sparkling pomegranate limeade. It's very easy. And if you are not drinking, or you have a loved one who doesn't drink, or your children don't drink, then I would suggest you give this a shot and you share it with them. Don't hoard the Grenadine for yourself. If you want, you could just build this in a glass. However, we are going to fancy it up and make it in a shaking tin. So in a shaking tin, start with 1 ounce of grenadine. To that, add 1 ounce of fresh lime juice. Now we can add ice and shake. However, we don't want to shake it too long. It's not booze, so it's going to freeze faster than alcohol will. So just a quick shake to incorporate everything, add just a skosh of air and give it a little dilution. Then in a Collins glass, add ice, and you can pour that off into the glass with some sparkling water. Trust me, the dilution here is needed. Otherwise, it is super big flavor, really tart lime and sweet grenadine. You want this diluted, and the bubbles give it life. Garnish it however you want. I like a little lime wheel. Might as well throw an umbrella on there, drop in a cool straw, and there we have it. Easy peasy lime squeezy, the pomegranate limeade. Cheers. All right, this is what I need. I mean, oh yeah, come on. That tastes like you took the world's best tart popsicle and you melted it and you infused it with bubbles of love. Now, weak. All right, bubbles of love. Actually, this is really good. And truthfully, I love all these cocktails, but right now this is what I need. Where'd you get this grenadine? Oh, I got it online. I watch Anders Ericsson on YouTube. Oh yeah, I check him out too sometimes. Yeah, well, he made a grenadine with Portland syrups. They're a great company. He took his homemade recipe. And it's all hands-on, and they use whole ingredients. What? Are you kidding me? I can even make mocktails for my kids. You need to go on myself and buy that grenadine because it has changed my bartending world. Is pregnant with our 4th child. That was a made-up story. I just made that up. But what I'm saying is, grenadine is for everyone. Spread the word. So, what did we learn today? Absolutely nothing. I'm kidding. No, I hope you enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. This is probably more cocktails than anybody should be drinking at once. But notice how easy I took the sips. And I have to say, I am so excited to have this finally available. Link down below. Just so you know, free shipping from Portland Syrups on orders that are $25 or more. Grab your merch, sign up for the newsletter, all that stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Cheers. Bye.